Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a topic that's, well, it's one of the most documented and yet strategically suppressed stories in modern history.
We're talking about unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, specifically the decades of military encounters and the really credible claims of a high-level government cover-up.
And our mission today is to dig into a whole stack of sources. We've got leaked emails, official patent documents, insider testimony.
Right, and we're going to use them to trace a pattern, a really clear and persistent one, actually. It's all about these encounters happening near our most sensitive military sites.
And the institutional reaction to them, which seems to always be denial and suppression, not investigation.
Exactly.
So we're starting this dive somewhere you might not expect, not Washington. We're going to a very remote corner of Australia in late 1991.
We're at the U.S. Naval Communications Station Harold E. Holt. And you have to understand, this place is a cornerstone of America's nuclear missile defense. It is a very, very sensitive location.
It's super isolated, top secret. And around 2:30 in the morning, a local resident, Annie Farinaccio, she leaves a party on the base.
And sees a UAP hovering right over the secure perimeter. 2 days later, her life just completely changes.
Yeah, two American military police, she calls them Alan and Kevin, describes them as almost robotically silent. They pick her up.
And they don't just question her, they drive her directly into the top secret communications section of the base itself.
At first she thinks, maybe she's in trouble for drinking on base or something.
But no. She gets inside and finds herself facing this room full of high-ranking American officers. The base commander is there.
And 3 or 4 men in civilian suits. The kind of guys who look like they've just flown in from very far away.
And they were there just for her testimony.
They really grilled her, didn't they? They kept trying to lead her toward some kind of mundane explanation.
Oh, absolutely. But Annie, you have to remember, she was an intelligent university graduate. She worked as a counselor for prisoners. She wasn't easily intimidated.
And she just flatly told them, it wasn't a weather balloon, it was a UFO. I am not saying what you want me to say.
That defiance is key. And one of the MPs, Alan, he later confided in her.
What did he say?
He said photographs of the intelligently guided craft were actually printed inside the base, but they were immediately confiscated. His camera, the negatives, everything, gone.
So right from the start, this establishes the whole theme.
Yep.
It's not about sightings. It's about control of the information.
It's the institutional reflex. And to understand where that reflex came from, you really have to go back to the end of World War II.
The Foo Fighters.
Exactly. Allied pilots over Europe and the Pacific were reporting these strange luminous disks, these spheres. They said they could turn on a dime.
And at first, they thought they were, what, secret German weapons?
Yeah, but after the war, they looked into it and nothing. They were just officially unexplained.
Then, of course, 1947 happens.
Yeah.
That's when it all explodes into the public consciousness.
Kenneth Arnold. His sighting near Mount Rainier of objects moving at an estimated 2,700 kilometers per hour. That's what triggered the press frenzy.
And gave us the term flying saucers.
And just a few weeks later, you get the foundational case for all the secrecy that follows. Roswell, New Mexico.
Roswell. The ranch foreman, Mac Brazel, finds this strange crash debris.
Yeah, stuff that was just bizarre, like foil, but incredibly strong and light, metallic beams with weird writing on them.
But the crucial thing here is the official reaction. The Roswell Army Air Force Base puts out a press release.
And what does it say?
It says they've recovered a flying disc.
And then almost immediately they retract it. Just gone.
And over the years, the Air Force gives, 4 different explanations for what it was?
4. And the key figure, Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer sent to the scene, he later claimed the real debris was swapped out.
Right. He said he was forced to pose for photos with, normal weather balloon wreckage.
A total fabrication. And then, get this, in a 1994 report, the Air Force finally admits the weather balloon story was, and I'm quoting, bunkum.
So they admit they lied.
They admit they lied, but then they say the wreckage was really from Project Modulo, another top-secret program to monitor Soviet nuclear tests.
So no matter what, they were covering something up. That established the precedent that the military would lie about this.
And that's what leads to the official debunking projects, like Project Grudge and Project Blue Book.
Publicly, they're set up to analyze sightings.
Mm-hmm.
But behind the scenes.
It's a different story. A 1952 CIA memo acknowledges UAPs pose 2 dangers. mass psychological considerations, and the vulnerability of the U.S. to air attack.
So internally, they're taking it very seriously.
Very. But the public-facing side, according to Dr. J. Allen Hynek, a consultant for Blue Book, had a command philosophy. It can't be, therefore it isn't. The mission was suppression.
And this wasn't just happening in the U.S. This theme of advanced tech breaching secure airspace, it's global.
Let's go back to Australia. Woomera Rocket Range, 1954. One of the most secure military test sites on the planet.
What happened there?
A security officer and a staff sergeant tracked a circular, translucent object on radar.
How fast was it going?
4,800 kilometers per hour. That's Mach 3. Far beyond anything they had back then. It was just more proof that something was monitoring their most secure installations.
And it wasn't just monitoring. You found sources confirming they were trying to retrieve this stuff?
Oh, yeah. Right in the middle of the Blue Book era, in 1961, a secret U.S. Air Force program starts up called Operation Moondust.
Moondust. What was its job?
Its official task was the field exploitation of descended foreign space vehicles and, explicitly, unidentified flying objects. Globally.
So while they're telling the public it's all swamp gas.
They have teams ready to go anywhere in the world to pick up the pieces.
Okay, this is where it gets really serious, though. The idea that these things were interacting with our nuclear weapons.
This is the 1964 Dr. Robert Jacobs incident at Vandenberg Air Force Base. He was a first lieutenant, and his job was to film an ICBM test launch.
An intercontinental ballistic missile.
Correct. And when they reviewed the film, they saw a domed disc, a classic flying saucer, fly up to the dummy warhead in space.
And then what?
It fired 4 beams of light at the warhead, disabled it, caused it to just tumble out of the sky.
Wait, it shot down a dummy nuclear warhead. That's not just observation. That's a direct act.
It's a demonstration of technological superiority right over our most sensitive missile base. And they didn't rationalize it publicly. They suppressed it instantly.
How?
Jacobs' commanding officer, a Major Mansman, told him to never, ever speak of it again. He said it was a top-secret event involving the CIA.
So by the mid-60s, the military knew something could interfere with our nuclear arsenal.
Absolutely. Which makes what happened in the late 70s even more shocking.
You talk about President Carter.
President Jimmy Carter. He'd seen a UAP himself back in 1969. He got elected on a promise to disclose the government's files on the topic.
But when he tried to get briefed,
the CIA director at the time, George H.W. Bush, flatly refused to tell him anything.
The director of the CIA refused to brief the president-elect.
He told him he didn't have a need to know.
That is just staggering. It suggests a non-elected group within intelligence held power over the president on this one specific topic.
And according to attorney Daniel Sheehan, the information being withheld was explosive.
What did Sheehan see?
He got access to classified Project Blue Book files, and he claimed he saw photos of a recovered crashed saucer with strange symbols etched on it.
And this was stuff that was left out of the official reports.
Completely omitted from the reports that were eventually given to President Carter. It just screams of a concerted effort to keep the real evidence away from the Oval Office.
This pattern just continues right into the modern era, but the push for disclosure comes from a very unlikely source.
Yeah, Tom DeLonge, the punk rock star from Blink-182. He starts his organization, To the Stars Academy, or TTSA.
And somehow he gets meetings with some incredibly powerful insiders.
Which sounds crazy, right? But it was accidentally verified by the 2016 John Podesta email leaks.
Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager.
And the emails confirm meetings were planned between DeLonge, Podesta, the general manager of Lockheed Skunk Works, and a retired major general who was in charge of the very lab where the Roswell debris was supposedly sent.
So his access was real. This wasn't a fantasy.
It was absolutely real. And he quotes one official, the general, who told him something that just terrified him.
What was it?
He said, "It was the Cold War and we found a life form."
Wow.
Incredible claim. But it was made in the context of these verifiable, high-level meetings.
And all of this really leads us to the most compelling modern encounters, the ones that drove this recent push.
The 2004 Tic Tac incident, the USS Nimitz carrier group.
Right. Off the coast of California, radar operators like Kevin Day tracked, 14 objects?
14 objects. They were way up above 80,000 feet, moving slow, and then they just dart off at impossible speeds.
And then Commander David Fravor gets sent to take a look.
He visually engages with this thing, a 40-foot white featureless object, a Tic Tac. It's hovering over the water, and it mirrors his jet's movement.
And when he tries to get closer?
It accelerates, in his words, like a bullet out of a gun,
Yeah.
and just vanishes.
But it's not just the speed. It's the intelligence it showed.
That's the part that gets me. After Fravor's encounter, the USS Princeton's advanced EGS radar tracks the UAP again,
And where does it reappear?
precisely at the fighter jet's prearranged rendezvous point, the cap point.
A location only the pilots and the carrier group should have known.
How did it know where they were going? That implies not just superior technology, but superior intelligence.
Which brings us to some really mind-bending stuff. The patents.
Yeah, Dr. Salvatore Pais, a Navy scientist. Between 2016 and 2018, he files these incredible patents, all assigned to the U.S. Navy.
For things like what?
A craft using an inertial mass reduction device, which basically sounds like an anti-gravity engine, and a room temperature superconductor.
A room temperature superconductor would change everything. Right. It's Nobel Prize level stuff.
It would make our entire aerospace industry obsolete. And here's the kicker.
Go on.
Pais's boss at the Navy officially vouched to the U.S. Patent Office that the room temperature superconductor was, and I quote, operable and enabled.
The Navy claimed it was real, and it worked.
They did, despite total scientific skepticism. The Navy was officially claiming it had the means for anti-gravity propulsion.
Which would explain what Fravor saw. And it brought other insiders out of the woodwork.
It did. You have Nat Kobitz, a former Navy R&D boss, who stated he was formally read into a program involving crashed UFOs. He confirmed there was an active program trying to back-engineer that technology.
And then there's the biggest confirmation of all, from Luis Elizondo.
The director of ATIP, the Pentagon's official UAP study program. A serious intelligence official.
And he was asked, point blank, if the U.S. government has recovered UFO debris.
And his answer was just so simple and direct. He said, simply put, yes.
So if we put all of this together, we've gone from the military ridiculing moonstruck callers to decorated pilots and top insiders confirming that intelligently guided objects operating outside our physics are real.
And the core tension is that institutional lie. The public-facing military repeatedly lied about Roswell, about Blue Book.
While behind the scenes, they're running retrieval missions like Operation Moondust and trying to reverse engineer this technology.
The Pais patents, the insider testimony, it all points to the same thing.
Which brings us to a final, pretty powerful question for you to think about. The Navy still has classified information on the Nimitz Tic Tac encounter.
Right. And they refused to release it, saying it would cause exceptionally grave damage to the national security of the United States.
So, given that we know the military has a history of lying about this, given that the Navy was filing patents for anti-gravity, and given that Elizondo confirmed they have the debris, you have to ask.
What knowledge could be so sensitive that it's worth keeping from the commander-in-chief like they did with Carter? What could cause exceptionally grave damage?
Who or what is really being protected by all this secrecy?